Good evening. I'm Mark Braun, Board Chair of the International Photography Hall of Fame. On behalf of our board, many of whom are here tonight, I'd like to welcome you to our 60th anniversary award ceremony. This evening we'll honor the class of 2025 to the Hall of Fame and present our Visionary Award to a group of remarkable photographers. The International Photography Hall of Fame was founded in 1965 and is currently located in St. Louis, Missouri. Our mission is to honor individuals and organizations that make significant contributions to the art, craft, and science of photography. In addition, we house a collection of over 5,500 images to preserve those contributions, some of which you've seen out here in the hallway today. We'd like to thank our local partners, Indie Art Center, their staff, Mark Williams, Shannon Bennett, and Anna Searcy, who are hiding up in the booth up there, and Meredith Reinker of Roberts Camera for encouraging us to hold this year's event in Indianapolis and their contributions to making this a successful weekend. Thank you to the awardees who are here tonight and all of you in the audience that make programs like this possible. We will make copies of the videos and photos of tonight's event available to all attendees, so you're welcome to take photographs, but if you don't want to, we will have them posted and we'll be able to transfer them to you later on. But if you do take your own photographs, please be courteous to your neighbors. And also, please silence your phones. Now I'd like to ask Mark Williams to come up, who's going to make a few comments about the wonderful facility you're in, and carry forward.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Indianapolis Art Center. My name is Mark Williams. I have the privilege of serving as the executive director of this 91-year-old institution and leading it into its next century. So we're glad you're here. We're glad you got to experience it. It truly is a unique place, and we're all committed to keeping this open and accessible to everyone. If you did not notice when you came in the front door, it's one of the aspects we're most proud of here at the Indy Art Center. We are one of the last major cultural institutions around without a paywall, meaning you don't have to buy a ticket, you don't have to pay admission, and we put on up to 25 contemporary art exhibitions every year. So our service to the community is vast. It doesn't just happen on this 12-acre campus. It happens at more than 30 sites across the greater city area. So we're happy you got to experience it, and we're thrilled to host the International Photography Hall of Fame this evening. Glad you're here. While we celebrate all art forms here and all mediums, the unique power of photography to connect, to move, to articulate and amplify our world, our human experience, our human condition, our shared humanity, I mean, that is especially well-deserving of attention this evening, especially noting the artists amongst us. So let's shine a light on this talent we have here this evening. Let's hear their stories. Let's celebrate them. And to start this off, our Master of Ceremonies tonight will be Rob Grimm. Rob is a board member and a professional photographer from the St. Louis area. And joining Rob on stage will be Elizabeth San Juan, also a board member and chair of the Hall of Fame committee. So please welcome Rob and Elizabeth to the stage.
Hey everybody. So I was asked to do this a little bit late, but this is not my first time being a pinch hit MC. I think the first time came in somewhere around 1975 when the Maryland School Christmas pageant had a little snafu and I was asked to step in. And surprisingly, I think I was wearing a very similar suit. So I feel kind of comfortable up here. The award that the recipients are receiving tonight is really pretty amazing, especially if you think about the numbers. Think about how many photographs are taken throughout the world. Think about how many photographs are taken a single day, which don't quote me, but I've heard stories that there are many photographs taken a day as there are people on Earth. Is that possible? Maybe. To consistently take amazing photographs and to do so over years, over decades, is a really remarkable feat. And I think we all struggle with the fact that there are photographers and there are people who can take pictures, but photographers make pictures. It's their vision, it's their understanding of composition, it's their use of technique and how they understand so many different techniques that they can put together to create their vision and what they want us to see. That's remarkable. And believe it or not, the people that are receiving the award tonight have changed the way you look. Their images have influenced the way you see the world. That's an amazing power, and it's something to really celebrate, so we're happy to do so tonight. So let's get started. In a career spanning more than 5 decades, our first inductee has documented pivotal moments of history in almost every corner of the world. He has established himself as one of the most influential figures in contemporary photojournalism through his versatile approach, his emotional depth, and his remarkable storytelling.
David Burnett discovered his love of photography in his Salt Lake City high school. Having joined the yearbook staff to improve his extracurricular credentials for college, he found the darkroom a magical place where visual storytelling came alive. Though he went to Colorado College to study political science, he found shooting photos for local newspapers more compelling. In 1967, when he was 21, Burnett was introduced to the world of international photojournalism as an intern at Time magazine. That led him to a job with Life magazine, assigned to cover the war in Vietnam. There he witnessed and recorded the ferocity of war and the ability of humans caught in its grip to survive and recover. When he left Vietnam, Burnett traveled the world for the French press agency Gamma for 2 years before co-founding Contact Press Images, a New York-based outlet for independent photojournalists. He was on hand to document the 1973 coup in Chile, the 1975 fall of Saigon, the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the famine in Ethiopia in 1984, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, and the U.S. military intervention in Haiti in 1994. He photographed every American president from John F. Kennedy to Barack Obama and covered every Olympic Games from 1984 to 2012. He has been to more than 75 countries on assignments for such publications as Time, Life, Fortune, The New Yorker, National Geographic, and the New York Times Magazine. Focusing on empathy and complexity rather than spectacle, Burnett has documented some of the world's most significant events and people over the last 50 years. In the process, he has won numerous awards, including the Robert Capa Gold Medal for Exceptional Courage and Enterprise Abroad and the Sprague Award for Lifetime Achievement. He also has published several books. Known for his versatility, emotional depth, and visual storytelling, Burnett is one of the most influential figures in contemporary photojournalism. I made some pictures that are relevant to what happened in this world that I lived in, Burnett said in a recent interview. And maybe, just maybe, there are a few good pictures I haven't made yet.
Will you please welcome David Burnett?
Gotta get one picture anyway. Wow. Who was that guy? I want to meet him. You know, I have this thing about, even today, I've been doing this for 60 years, but if somebody said, I need a headshot, okay, I'm happy to do it, but I get butterflies even on every little thing I do now. I've been doing this a long time, and there's something that I love about the fact that I still get those butterflies, like, I hope I don't screw it up. And, well, I got the butterflies again watching all those pictures come back. That was very sweet. And I just want to thank the Hall of Fame. Everybody, you guys have been so great. And putting this together here at, by the way, this wonderful art center. I was impressed that you have 2 clay working rooms, and I saw a lot of things being spun when I walked by yesterday. But it's getting here and having a chance to meet a couple of people that I've only known by their photographs is really something that is Otherwise, we don't always meet each other. You kind of meet the people that are in your own world, but you don't really get to meet people that do very different kinds of things, and I appreciate that. But by the way, if I don't make a frame here, I'm going to hear about it, even though it's only, go to F2, and it's, well, 25th of a second. It's got to, I can still hold a 25th of a second. But it's, having had this life that has been this combination of maybe a little vision and a lot of inspiration and cooperation along the way. There are some great people in the photojournalism world, and I've been lucky to have met a few of them along the way. Alfred Eisenstadt, Francis Miller from Life magazine, who many years, long before I ever picked up a speed graphic camera, which I did about 20 years ago and started shooting with a 70-year-old camera. But I ran into Francis Miller from Life magazine, who was covering a Lady Bird Johnson event. And one of his cameras was going down, and he started smacking his Nikon F, and he's like, and apologies to Nikon, and he starts yelling about it. I said, well, gee, what's the problem here? He said, oh, these Nikons, they ain't worth a darn. I'm cleaning this up a little bit. They ain't worth a darn. You hit somebody with it, they go down, they get right back up. You hit them with a speed graphic, they're going to stay down. And I heard that 60 years ago, and I have to say, it took me 50 years to start using a speed graphic, but now I kind of feel like I'm in a safe place whenever I carry that camera around, because I know that if necessary, I can get them to stay down. But I've been a lucky guy to work with some great editors along the way, and my friend Bill Foley is here tonight, and we worked for years together at Time magazine with some editors who understood that the most important thing in photojournalism is to get the photographers out and create the work. Maybe it'll get published right away, and maybe it won't, but it only will happen if the work gets created. And I've been lucky to work with a few editors who really felt that was the thing. So I want to also thank my wife Iris, who has for 44 years has kind of dealt with my comings and goings and in a pretty patient way, I gotta say. It's not easy being married to a photographer who, gets a phone call and is on the next plane somewhere. But I appreciate that, and as much as for the editors that I've worked in the magazines that have used my pictures, it's all part of a life. And as Jeff said this morning, to be indicted into the Hall of Fame is something very special, and I can't tell you how happy I am to be indicted in this august group. Thank you all very much. Whoa. Whoa. Thank you.
See, how fun is this to hear these stories, get these words of wisdom? Oh, it's absolutely amazing. Our next inductee has often been referred to as the poet of the ordinary due to his hauntingly lyrical images. He has redefined contemporary photography by weaving together the mystical and the mundane, the everyday with the otherworldly, and he has captured an emotional current of life in the American South and beyond.
Growing up in Beaumont, Texas, Keith Carter was surrounded by photographic equipment. His mother was a portrait photographer. When her son was 5 years old, she allowed him to stand on a chair and push prints around in the developer. I thought it was kind of magical, Carter said in an interview decades later. I loved the orange light. It wasn't until he was 22, however, that he got serious about photography. He was set to graduate with a business degree from Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas, when he borrowed a camera from his mother and shot some black and white photos. When he showed them to her, she told him he had a good eye. Positive parenting set me on fire, Carter said. 40 years later, I'm still on fire. Shunning formal training, Carter became a self-taught photographer through reading and practical experience. Clearly, he was a good teacher. Initially, he helped his mother, but his East Texas surroundings, as well as the writing of Eudora Welty and Flannery O'Connor and the photographs of Walker Evans, inspired Carter's personal artistic vision. He focused on familiar scenes, creating photos that were dreamlike and evocative of the myths and metaphors he recognized all around him. His work, which led the Los Angeles Times to dub Carter poet of the ordinary, often features people, animals, and objects that are rich in texture and mysterious. Though internationally acclaimed, Carter has remained in Beaumont throughout his career, teaching at Lamar, where he holds the endowed Wall Chair in Visual and Performing Arts. He has published 16 monographs, including Uncertain to Blue, Bones, Ezekiel's Horse, Mojo, Fireflies, and Keith Carter, 50 Years. His photographs have been exhibited in 115 solo shows in 13 countries and are included in the collections of the Art Institute of Chicago, the Smithsonian American Art Museum, the J. Paul Getty Museum, the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, and the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. He has also been the subject of 2 documentary films, as well as having been featured on the television series CBS Sunday Morning. For Carter, photography is not just about documenting the world as it is. It's also about revealing what's beneath the surface. Through his camera, he uncovers the poetry in the ordinary, showing not just how the world looks, but how it feels, too. Saying he uses photography to touch the humanity all around him, Carter sums up his career with a simple statement: I gained everything that makes an adult life worth living by being a photographer.
Please welcome Keith Carter.
I appreciate you being here. It's a real honor. And I want to leave you with what I think about often and what I kept for years in my darkroom in several different places. And it's something that Walt Whitman said: love the earth and the sun and the animals. Go freely with powerful, uneducated persons and the mothers of young families. Argue not about God, and your very eyelash shall be a great poem. I would also like to thank Kathy Spence, who's been my longtime, over 30 years, studio assistant, for sticking with me and for all your hard work. And thank you for being here.
All right, our next inductee is both an acclaimed fine art photographer and an abstract expressionist painter. Through his bold and expressive style, he has built a groundbreaking career in photography, painting, and experimental visual media. And he bought his first camera with money he earned from his paper route, which I love.
Adger Cowans blurs the line between photography and painting. He does both with so much command of the medium that he has a foot in both worlds. But he didn't set out to do either. From the age of 9, Cowans was a gifted trumpet player, eventually earning a full scholarship to study music at Capital University in his hometown of Columbus, Ohio. He turned it down. By that time, he'd replaced the trumpet in his hand with a camera. In 1954, he enrolled at Ohio University as one of the first black students in its photography program. His primary instructor was Clarence White, Jr., whose father had shown his photographs in Alfred Stieglitz's 291 gallery. White introduced Cowans to the work of Edward Weston. I was knocked out more than everybody else by the quality and tonality of the pictures, Cowans said. While still in college, Cowans wrote to Gordon Parks, then went to meet him in New York. Parks told the young man to call him when he graduated. Leaving the university a few months later, Cowans went back to New York and ended up living with Parks and his family. Parks hired him as his assistant at Life magazine. That was the start of a friendship that lasted until Parks died in 2006. When Cowans was drafted in 1958, he became a photographer in the Navy. Upon his discharge, he returned to New York, where he became part of the burgeoning downtown art world of the 1960s. He befriended painters, jazz musicians, and actors, and shot photographs of them all. In 1963, Cowans joined with photographer Roy DeCarava and other black artists in Comwinia, a civil rights art collective that worked to counter racist depictions of black communities. It was a linchpin in the black arts movement. Encouraged by some of the artists he knew, Cowans started painting, focusing on abstracts. It soon became as much a part of his creative practice as photography. In the 1980s, he turned his camera on Hollywood, becoming the first black film set photographer in Hollywood. That paralleled Parks, who had been the first black man to direct a Hollywood film. Cowans shot stills on more than 30 film sets for such directors as Francis Ford Coppola, Sidney Lumet, and Spike Lee. Over a career that has spanned nearly 70 years, Cowans has remained focused on one thing, whether painting or shooting photographs. He said it's always about the image. It's about your communication with form, he said. I see photography and painting as spiritually similar. Of Cowans, Parks once said, through film and paint, his keen, sensitive eye hauntingly reveals things, places, and moments that make up the bonfires of our lives. His individualism sets him apart.
Please welcome Adger Cowans.
Whoa. Photography for me and all art is a calling of the spirit deep within. And that's the connection for me. When I started my career, there were no black photographers that I knew. And so I asked my teacher, and he told me about Gordon Parks. I thought I was going to be a musician. That's what I studied all my life. So when photography came along, I thought, great, I don't have to work. I thought, this is easy. I can take a picture, you know. But I found out when I took a picture that somebody related to it, and they told me how they felt about it. And that made me have a window into their mind. And that really excited me. I think my first year in college, I partied. Second year, I partied. Third year, I got real serious about it because I realized that to move people is a gift, and it's a gift from the Spirit. And when you really, really connect, then that's something that lasts forever. And to me, that was exciting. Paul Klee said, art does not reproduce the visible, but makes visible. And I've hung on to that statement forever. And I would like to thank the International Hall of Fame for this award. I didn't even know this existed, so it was a great surprise to me to receive this award. And I feel really, really humbled by this. And thank you very much.
So if you ask most photographers their origin story, they're going to tell you they probably got a camera when they were 8 years old by a relative, and that's how their love of photography began. Not our next inductee. Sheila Metzner began taking pictures at the age of 39, which I find absolutely remarkable. She viewed photography as magic and established herself as a contemporary master in fine art, portraiture, still life, and landscape. She was the first female to break into the world of fashion by gracing the pages of Vogue. And as your daughter will probably tell us later, after putting her 5 kids to bed, she'd get dressed up, she'd get out the camera, and she'd photograph herself all night long.
It was while attending the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan that Sheila Swartz started down the road that would eventually lead her to photography. Awarded a scholarship to attend the college of her choice, Swartz decided on the Pratt Institute, where she majored in visual communications. After graduating in 1961, she went to work for CBS Network Advertising. 5 years later, she joined the advertising agency Doyle Dane Bernbach as its first female art director. It was there that she met fellow art director Jeffrey Metzner, whom she married. Now Sheila Metzner, she started taking photographs while raising 5 children, urged on by a friend who told her she had a good eye. After she had amassed a collection of 22 boxes, she showed some of her work to John Swarkowski at the Museum of Modern Art. He included a black and white of her stepdaughter in the 1978 exhibition Mirrors and Windows, American Photography since 1960. When that image was featured in the New York Times Magazine, Metzner's career as a photographer was off and running. A short while later, her first solo show at the Daniel Wolfe Gallery attracted record crowds. A second show at the gallery in 1980 led to editorial assignments from Vanity Fair, Vogue, and Rolling Stone. At the same time, Metzner began working commercially for such clients as Valentino, Elizabeth Arden, Perry Ellis, Fendi, Saks Fifth Avenue, Victoria's Secret, Revlon, Levi's, Ralph Lauren, and Neiman Marcus. She also has worked as a still photographer on film sets, including Wild at Heart, Black Rain, Jennifer 8, and Bugsy. Restlessly creative Metzner has directed television commercials and produced and directed her own short film on the surrealist artist Man Ray. Her fine art photographs are in collections in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Museum of Modern Art, the J. Paul Getty Museum, the International Center of Photography, the Brooklyn Museum, and the Art Institute of Chicago, as well as in corporate and personal collections. She has published 5 books: Objects of Desire, Sheila Metzner's Color, Inherit the Earth, Form and Fashion, and From Life. Of her rich and varied career, Metzner once said, "I was told by many people when I began that photography was dead and that I was really foolish to involve myself in it. But photography continues to evolve and has made my life a most extraordinary one."
Good evening. I'm honored to be inducted into the International Photography Hall of Fame. I'm honored to be recognized along so many brilliant artists. I'm very humble. I wish I could be there with you, with all of you, in person to share this moment, but I can't. So I want you to know that I'm grateful for this honor, truly grateful. Photography has been my life's work, my personal passion. To have that work celebrated in this way means more than I can express. I want to thank the Hall of Fame and everyone who has supported me on this journey, and friends of mine who are also have been honored in this way. Danny Lyon and Lee Miller, who I never got to meet, but who I truly, truly thought was a great artist, and so many others. Diane Arbus. I mean, it's an extraordinary list of people much greater than I am. But the fact that you've offered me this role to be part of it, I must accept it, and I must accept the honor. And I want to thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Sheila's daughter, Biga Metzner.
Might be the closest thing to the Oscars I get, but hopefully not. We'll see. And this might be slightly redundant, but just to add on to your story, she would wake up, she would put us all to bed, and then she would get dressed, put on lipstick and high heels, and go to work printing her photographs in the darkroom in the back of our house. So she got dressed up and didn't shoot herself, but she did her pictures. So thanks for having me. My mother, Sheila Metzner, has always been an inspiration as an artist, as a human, and as a parent. She began her career in advertising and was the first female art director at Doyle Dane Bernbach during the golden age of advertising, a job she left to raise her 5 children. But while she was there, for all of us as a loving parent, she was also quietly taking photographs and making prints, mostly of her family, friends, and flowers that she grew herself. Inspired by her heroes, Steichen, Lee Miller, Man Ray, Cartier-Bresson, and Julia Margaret Cameron, she worked alone in her darkroom for 12 years before she broke through when one of her photographs was selected for a group show at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Gallery exhibitions at the Wolf Gallery and a contract with Vogue soon followed, and she made her name for herself in the fine art world, and also in fashion, advertising, and in portraiture. Yeah! Sheila traveled the world with her camera in hand, documenting fashion, landscape, still life, and personalities with her unique eye. A trailblazer in a field historically dominated by men, she didn't just take images, she created them. One of the few photographers to print with Atelier Frisson in Paris, her photographs are soft, radiant, and often described as being painted with light. Fittingly, the word photography itself comes from the Greek phos and graphe, literally meaning drawing with light. And that's what Sheila does. She draws with light and shadow, stillness and mystery, turning the ordinary into the eternal. She once said, "Photography in its most basic form is magic. This image, caught in my box of darkness, can live. It is eternal, immortal." That spirit of transforming stillness and shadow into something transcendent lives in all of her work. It's what makes this recognition so meaningful. She's deeply grateful for this honor from the International Photography Hall of Fame, and she wishes she could be here to accept it. While she couldn't join us in person tonight, she sends her warmest congratulations to the other inductees and is humbled to have her name amongst theirs. I love you, Mom, Sheila, Mom. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, a fashion model turned war correspondent. When has that ever been a sentence? Except when you're telling the story of the trailblazing photographer Lee Miller. She worked closely with Man Ray. She opened her own studio in Paris, and then a few years later moved to New York and did it again, establishing herself in New York City. During World War II, she literally risked her life to cover the front line of the war and was one of only a very few handful of women to ever do so.
Lee Miller personified the fearless. Born in 1907, she came of age in an era when female photographers were rare, and those who straddled the line between fine art and editorial photography even rarer. Introduced to photography by her father, she didn't pursue it seriously until she'd been on the other side of the camera as a popular fashion model. By the time she was 22, Miller had tired of modeling and moved to Paris, where she became a muse for and collaborator with surrealist photographer Man Ray. It was while working with Man Ray that she encountered the process of solarization, which she later said had happened when a mouse ran over her foot in the darkroom. That caused her to switch on the light before she had finished developing a photograph. The result was a silvery image caused by the overexposure to light. It became a technique she and Man Ray used on other photos. Returning to New York in 1932, Miller set up her own studio. That same year, her work was featured in group exhibitions at the Julian Levy Gallery and the Brooklyn Museum. In 1933, she married Egyptian businessman Aziz Bey and moved to Cairo. Fascinated by the Sahara Desert, she took many striking photos during her 4 years there. Returning to New York once again, she met and fell in love with surrealist painter Roland Penrose. She and Penrose moved to England, though she didn't divorce Bey and marry Penrose until 1947. In the meantime, she became one of the few female war correspondents during World War II. Vogue hired her to shoot photos and write accounts of her experiences accompanying U.S. Army troops throughout Europe. She was present in France immediately after the D-Day invasion, ignoring orders to avoid combat zones to shoot photos during a battle between Allied and German troops for a French town. She was also on hand when American troops rolled into Paris and at the liberation of Buchenwald and Dachau. The Nazi concentration camps left an indelible mark on Miller. She shot photos of the deplorable conditions of the camps themselves. When she reached Munich, in the company of Life magazine photographer David Sherman, they went to Hitler's former apartment, where Miller took a bath in his bathtub. While in the tub, Miller set her boots with mud from Dachau on the bathroom rug, with a photo of Hitler looking on. Sherman shot a photo to document her disdain. Following the war, Miller continued working for Vogue. She also struggled with depression, the aftermath of her wartime experiences. In 1947, she and Penrose became parents, and 2 years later, they bought Farley's, a farmhouse in the English countryside. Setting aside photography, Miller became a gourmet cook, entertaining such guests as Man Ray, Pablo Picasso, and Henry Moore. In 1969, a reporter for the New York Times asked Miller why she had been drawn to photography. She replied, "It was a matter of getting out on a damn limb and sawing it off behind you."
Pretty remarkable story. Our final inductee is a pioneer of color photography and large format images. His deeply influential work has reshaped photographic storytelling by focusing on the ordinary with a quiet observation style and absolutely groundbreaking use of color. And in one of his series of work, he used the ever so famous Mic-O-Matic, which was a camera shaped like Mickey Mouse's head, because he said it made everybody smile.
Stephen Shore started his career in the darkroom when he was 6 years old, thanks to an uncle who gave him a Kodak developing kit for kids. He spent 2 years developing his family's snapshots before even picking up a camera himself. When he was about to turn 9, he got his first 35mm camera. Later, a neighbor in the family's New York apartment building gave him a copy of Walker Evans' book, American Photographs. Evans became a guiding light in terms of Shore's development as a photographer. Shore developed a discipline based on asking himself questions about techniques, subjects, and themes. Perhaps the most consistent thing about him has been change. In a sense, that started with Andy Warhol. Shore was 17 when he met Warhol, who invited the young photographer to the factory. For 2 years, Shore was a regular presence, shooting photos of the famous and infamous factory faces. He also learned the value of creative experimentation from Warhol, who tried out new techniques and subjects constantly. Shore has said he believes there are 2 types of photographers. There are those who had monomaniacal visions that propelled them. Then there are those people who kept looking at new things, new ways of doing things. They kept changing. I'm in this second category. The proof of that is in the variety apparent in such well-known Shore series as American Surfaces, Uncommon Places, The Velvet Years, and The Biographical Landscape. Proficient in both black and white and color photography, he turned his cameras on street intersections and parking lots, hotels and gas stations, pedestrians and places. He gained renown for making the commonplace compelling. He also attracted attention early, having his first one-man show in 1971 at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. That was the start of a remarkable run of exhibitions over the next 48 years at some of the most prestigious museums and galleries in the world, including a 60-year retrospective at the Museum of Modern Art in 2017. Though Shore never had formal training, since 1982 he has been the director of the photography program at Bard College. It has forced him to put into words what he otherwise does visually. In addition to teaching, Shore has done editorial photography for magazines and commissions for corporations and museums. He has also published more than 25 books. The most recent is Early Work, which features photos he shot between the ages of 12 and 17. An acknowledged master of his craft, Shore believes there are different levels of photographic mastery, with the final one being psychological. After all the physical and structural controls have been dealt with, he said in a 2013 interview, "What I'm doing is altering my perception. In the process, Stephen Shore has altered the wider world's perception of what a photographer can do technically and creatively, giving us indelible images shot through with artistry."
And congratulations to Stephen Shore. So our final award is going to be a little bit different. Do we have that video ready? You're going to have to listen to me read, so sorry about that, guys. Our final recognition this evening is the Visionary Award. It's the Photographic Arts and Sciences Foundation IPHF Visionary Award, recognizing individuals and organizations whose extraordinary work has significantly advanced the welfare of humanity and the world throughout the art of photography, and serve as an inspiration for future photographers. Tonight, we recognize Zanele Muholi, who uses the pronouns they, them, and came to photography through activism. Born in 1972 in southeastern South Africa, Muholi founded the Forum for the Empowerment of Women, a black lesbian rights organization, in 2002. That early work and grassroots advocacy fueled their desire to challenge social injustice through visual storytelling. Muholi studied advanced photography at the Marquette Photo Workshop in Johannesburg. They went on to earn an MFA in documentary media from Ryerson University in Toronto. Muholi told the British Journal of Photography, "Photography became my therapy and a tool of expression that helped me survive and deal with personal issues." Muholi's first solo exhibition, Visual Sexuality, Only Half the Picture, premiered at the Johannesburg Art Gallery in 2004. It featured photographs of survivors of rape and hate crimes. In 2006, Muholi introduced their ongoing photo series, Faces and Phases, which features black and white portraits of black lesbians, trans men, and gender nonconforming individuals, giving them dignity and humanity. Throughout their career, Muholi has used photography as a tool to document, affirm, and elevate the lives of black LGBTQ+ individuals. They have also been committed to youth empowerment through initiatives that offer photography, training, and mentorships. Muholi has a solo exhibition in venues such as London's Tate Museum, the Brooklyn Museum, and Gropius Bau in Berlin. Their work has also been featured in such major biennials as Sao Paulo, Venice, and Documenta. Their photographs are collections in the Guggenheim, Museum of Modern Art, the Tate, the Victoria Albert Museum, and many others. They have also published 5 monographs, including 2 focused on different iterations of faces and phases. Muholi continues to challenge conventional boundaries between art, documentation, and activism. I consider myself a visual activist first and foremost because my work has a political agenda, they said. I picked up the camera because there were no images of my community that spoke to me at a time when I needed them the most. I had to produce a positive visual narrative and create a new dialogue with images. So congratulations to Zanele Muholi. That was a mouthful. I want to express a heartfelt congratulations to all of our honorees tonight. Truly remarkable accomplishment and well deserved by all of you. I also want to say thank you all for coming tonight. This is a very important night for us. The IPHF really thanks you for coming and participating, and we look forward to seeing you again next year when we celebrate 61, because we're going to continue to grow. So thank you all very much.